Which brings up a good point, and I'm sure we're probably gonna get to this. I hope I'm not jumping ahead.
You're fine.
Who's Ronin?
Oh, I love it. I'm glad that you brought that back up because I almost forgot I was going to get to the conclusion. So,
let me ask you this, because for the sake of the podcast and for the folks who don't know, and I think we should start with, who is your favorite Ninja Turtle?
It's a little synonymous because my favorite is the Ronin, Donatello. And it's just how it worked this time. Sorry. But yeah. So no, Donnie was always my favorite because I am forever the outcast. Like that's it. I've always saw myself that way. I'm the middle child. I'm the one that's forgotten all the time, and I was the one that was watching everybody, and I'm the one that's quick to be like, well, technically that's actually fiber, you know?
Right. And people are like, oh yeah, whatever, yeah, you know what I'm saying, yeah,
right. That was always me. And Purple, my big sister was obsessed with Prince. So she had purple everything all the time. Yeah. And she had a purple bike, and I would always steal her purple bike so that I could go out because that was the good bike. My bike was crappy, but and also I probably abused my bike too. That's the reason why it was crappy. But I always kind of had this affinity for purple too. So Donnie definitely. What about you?
So although and this is so cliche, I do love all the turtles. I love all the turtles. And I love them for each their own thing.
Right.
I love Raph the most, but I would say for quite a time. I love Raph the most. It was kind of neck and neck with Leo. I really got blown with Raphael as an adult watching the first Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. Yes.
Because, bruh, like, if you don't just sit down, bruh. Just sit down, bruh.
Yes.
Why you got to go out on your own all the time thinking you the tough guy, man?
And it's true, bro, because it's like with that I relate to Raph, but at the same time I don't. I feel like because I'm a natural leader, so that's why I felt the connection with Leo and Raph. So, but it's like it's interesting because if there was a turtle that was in between them both, had both their personalities, I feel like it would be me. So,
I can see that.
You know what I'm saying? Because like I'm the hothead like Raph, and I'm like, let's go crack some heads. Right. But at the same time, I'm very much like Leo, where it's like, come on, y'all, let's use our heads in this situation. Like, let's think about this. You know what I mean? So, and it's like the leadership. So that's why there was such a clash between Leo and Raph because, Leo really did look up to Raph in a lot of ways. And you know what I'm saying? And there was such a and then Raph looked up to Leo in a lot of ways.
Exactly.
And they needed each other.
Exactly.
You know what I'm saying?
Man. And that's what we found. That's what we saw a lot in the first.
Exactly.
Because when they went to April's old folks' house, Leo was in the dumps right beside him while he was in the shower the whole time.
It's beautiful. I'm getting chills about it right now.
Right?
It's beautiful.
That beautiful drawing they have of him. Yeah. Like, I'm about to go get that drawing now.
Yeah.
Man.
Oh
like,
my
I
gosh, bro.
Somewhere where he's just. And you just feel him, man, like my brother, man, like
And that's why I love about
fault.
one.
Like, I wasn't a leader. I wasn't a leader in that time, and he felt like he. Dang.
If I had led them, he wouldn't have felt to do this. Maybe he was right. If I was right there with him, then he wouldn't have.
If I had his guts,
I would have done it.
Yeah, maybe he wouldn't be in this situation. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? Yeah.
So and it's such a beauty behind that. So I want to say it's really equal, but I guess for the sake of I want to say Raph, because Raph there's just a deep love of Raph, and like he was reckless in one though. I agree, he was reckless.
He is the anti-hero though. He really I mean he's like a turtle version of Walter White essentially.
Yeah, and he's like let's just go do the dirty work.
Right,
Why are we talking about this right now? Let's go do the dirty work.
Right.
So in 2, it's like, but that's the other side. It's like, let's go save Raph again. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
So it's like, although in 2 it wasn't quite as bad because he brought up a good point. He's like, yo, like, and also if you notice in that scene, he's like, he goes, look, I hate to admit it, but the kid's right.
See?
Why not use him to our abilities and do this?
Right.
Where you see that and everyone's like, Leo and Splinter like, yo, it's reckless. Like, no.
Yeah.
But it's funny because when he goes behind their back, because he has to.
Right.
When he goes behind their back and he does it, he's still looking out for Kino. He's like, yo, when you do it, come right back. And he was with them the whole time, every step of the way. So you realize he's not as reckless as what you think.
Right.
Not like in the first one, he was young and reckless. And that's also kind of paying homage to the fact that they're teenagers. We forget sometimes they're teenagers.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
They're young guys.
But what's really dope about that, because I'm really hoping that's what Ronin get the Ronin Turtle. I hope that's what it gets into.
Yes.
Because a piece of them, when in their absence, the absence of all of them, they inhabit Wrath. Like in the absence of Splinter, they all got that much more mature in the first movie, right? You know, and in the absence of Raphael, they had to kick that much more butt, right?
Yeah.
And then in the absence of Leo and Splinter, in that moment, he was the father figure and he was the leader, telling Ernie like, "Hey, chill," right?
Yeah.
And it kind of goes to show you where his sort of growth in becoming a full person, but they don't ever have to become full people because they have each other.
Yes.
So that's what is really, to me, that's the rich part of where Ronin can really play. So go ahead.
So
yes.
With that being said, and I really do, so you're actually gonna like this. All right. So first off, let me just put it this way. Here's what I said. Leo would make a good Ronin because he's the leader and he's failed his brothers. Therefore, he's going out and he's going to be he's revenge, right? Which is so not like Leo. Again, I don't think that's going to be the case as far as a storyteller because it's a little too on the nose and it's a little too easy to do.
Right.
Wrath. Being the rebel he is, being the I'm the tough guy, I got this, he leaves when his brothers need him most. And they die. And now he has to live with that burden. And knowing that he's failed them and realizing the recklessness of himself. And he has no brothers. So then that's like that built up anger. Everything that's there is gone. You know what I'm saying? It's all flushing out now. So you're gonna see a very dark Wrath.
I got you.
Again, too on the nose. It doesn't help with storytelling.
I got you.
Now, let's talk about Donnie and let's talk about Mikey. All right.
And before you, I want to make sure people understand the Ronin turtle that we're referring to. I don't remember the specific title. We should have looked that up. But there's a new comic coming out where all of the brothers have died except for one, but we don't know who that one is. Yeah. So now all of us are basically theorizing and running around who we think the Ronin turtle is. And I fortunately know it, but for conversation's sake, we're going to keep going. So I understand too on the nose with Leo or Wrath. It does make sense, but maybe a bit too on the nose. I like it.
Yeah, because I think it would be too on. It doesn't make, and especially with the secrecy and everything behind it. Storytelling. This is the storytelling me coming out. It doesn't. It can make us a good story, but it's too on the nose. What's interesting is diving into a turtle you'd least expect. So this is what I will say. To your defense, before today, and I was watching the second movie again. Before today, I was like, nah. But I will say, there's definitely an inkling there of having more of an interesting story with Donnie than I originally anticipated, and this is why. And it's funny. So for those of you who don't know, we kind of talked about it, but we really didn't get as in depth as we're doing today,
right?
About that and how you felt and why you connected with Donnie, which is interesting because this is what I saw today. Donnie is, I guess, considered because you have the two extremes of. Like you have four brothers, and you have Leo, who's the leader, Raph, who's fighting to be the leader, and they have their thing. You have Mikey as the goofball kind of. I think they're all are generally around the same age. I think they're technically all like the same age or whatever. But Mikey's kind of like
the youngest.
He's like the young brother,
right,
what I'm saying, the goofball, whatever. And you have Donnie, who's basically like he's the middle child who is somewhat forgotten. Now he's the smarts, and he's like, hey Donnie, like what's this, but. there is that about Donnie, that because he is not really the he's looked at as the smart guy, rather, but he's not looked at as that, he doesn't have that daunting characteristic that draws attention off the bat, other than like the smarts, basically. So Leo and Raph, of course, like you have the hothead, you have the leader naturally, and then you have Michelangelo, who's the goofball,
who's the party dude,
like, you know what I'm saying. And then which you another reason why I will bring in as a middle child, you also see Donnie a lot of times being the mediator. Right, being a mediator, like, all right, hey Mikey, let's go over here while they're doing their thing. Right. Like, even in the movie, he's right.
Yeah,
he's right. They're both right. You know, it's like that funny little thing where he's like, that kind of middle child, like you said, that honestly would make for a dope story, because again, for all those reasons there, you know what I'm saying, not having to have that. I have to step up to be the alpha of the group. Not having to, look out for young Mikey or whatever, or smack him upside the head like, come on, bro. You know what I mean? And having to have all this built up rage of I didn't do enough, to take all these things that all of them would feel, but then putting it on the turtle that is that might be looked over. You know what I'm saying?
I feel you. Yeah.
So with that, I say, after kind of analyzing that today, after looking at it a little bit, I was like, I could see, and I honestly, I wouldn't be mad at it, and I could see where and how they could make an interesting story and why him. But I will say, so like I said today, before I was like, nah, it's not him.
I can appreciate that. I can appreciate that, because he was very anti-Donnie earlier, so I'm glad that I brought him to the world of purple.
So with that being said, too, I think Mikey, I think poses as a great story. I guess you can argue that it's kind of obvious too, but like I think Mikey, because of the lack of seriousness, and also the lack of, he has his older brothers have been killed off. He has, he has to step up. I
think you guys might be hearing my son in the background, but.
Okay,
that's cool.
I'll talk louder.
No,
but you have that goofiness that is now faded away. You have this lack of, Splinter, this lack of the older brothers, and he's having to learn a lot now.
Yeah.
Because his brothers aren't there, and because it's like the one you least expect. So he might have some moments where he's getting beat up. He might have some moments where, or he just all this built up rage, which is so not Mikey.
Right.
It's such a 180 turn.
Right.
That's who he has to learn. So I've seen a couple pictures. I've seen a couple little hints of things that I think they were low key trying to put in. I might have been over analyzing it. I think we can both agree that. Who would make the best story for Ronin would be Donnie or Mikey. I think we both could, agree on that, because they're the least that we would expect. And I think that having an underdog, so to speak, be the one to do that. Of course, I think we also both can agree that if it's any of them, it's still going to be dope, and we're going to love it regardless. You know what I'm saying?
Yes, exactly.
But I definitely think having these two turtles coming out of their shell, so to speak, of being, being the leaders that they typically, and don't get me wrong, all turtles are leaders, but they weren't taking that role. They never had to take that role,
right?
Because Raph and Leonardo were always fighting for that the whole time,
right? So
now having one of them two to basically be like, I have to, and I'm mad.
Right. Yeah.
So outside of their characters that it poses as such a dope story. So,
I agree.
So that's my take on it, folks. That's my take on it, folks.
I don't really think you can disagree with the take. I think that, especially with Raph and Leo, that's the route to go. And if you do it well, let's not do the same cookie cut story that's there. I'm sure if they choose to do them and they do it well, we'll appreciate it in all of its glory, right? I think that with Michelangelo, it's the biggest character arc. You have there's a novel in there that, you know what I mean? You talk about him going from being the youngest party animal that never had to make any decisions.
Ever.
Most of the time he was thinking about when he's gonna order the next pizza. Right? You know what I'm saying? Like so, watching him pick up those elements of his brothers will almost be like watching Aang in The Last Airbender, right? Yeah. He had his lane was airbending, but then to learn all that other stuff was so excruciating for him, right? Yeah. So I think that definitely Michelangelo, that character arc would be very rich. Yeah. Probably the most rich. Yeah. The reason why it's Donatello. The reason why is your purple beats would suggest. Yeah, right. No. What I really love about it, again, it's totally me being biased, like whatever. But it's just because he was by far always been my favorite. But what I love about it is, one is with all the smart guys like Billy and the Power Rangers. Yeah. Was the professor in Gilligan's Island, like whoever the brains of the situation is. To me, whenever I watch it, I'm all Captain or Lieutenant Spock, right? Why aren't they in charge? Why aren't they the leader? Yeah. They're clearly the smartest. Why don't they ever? But I think that's what the new Star Trek kind of dealt with. It's the zeal. It's this X factor that makes you a leader, right? Yeah. That like Leonardo is good for goodness sake because he listens to the Splinter. He doesn't think. He's not the best thinker, I should say. Yeah. So he's a listener and he's a direction follower. Yeah. So that's why the brains can't be the leader. That's they're too analytical. They don't make decisions. They're too busy thinking about it. And then they can't be the party animal. They don't have the Z because they're thinking too much. They can't have fun and stuff because he's thinking too much. And then he doesn't have the attitude and the anger again because it's not logical. It's not why get angry. Yeah. It's just because A plus B equals C, right? Like why be logical or why? And then also I feel like he has all of these sharp objects around him that the enemies will strike down first. Like it's like Raphael is gonna die first because he's gonna go by himself because that's what he does. And his lesson will be that you shouldn't be reckless, right? Mm-hmm. So Donatello will have to eat that, right? He'll have to take that in, right? But then Michelangelo will be reckless and not caring enough, right? He's not gonna be he's not gonna take things seriously, and then he's gonna accidentally slip down something and die, right? So now Leo has this weight of the world on him now. I lost my little brother. I lost my homie who was I thought was almost better than me, right? Yeah. I am not losing another effing brother. Like, it's not happening. Yeah. Not on my watch. But the whole time, Donnie is now, he's kind of lost his innocence because Mikey's gone, right? Yeah. So now he's built this anger. Now he has this anger that Raph had, right? So now, him and Leo are going out and doing their thing, and something bad happens. And Donnie, maybe we're watching him whip it up more than he's ever whipped it up before because he's a little angry now, right? Mm-hmm. And then Leo sees him about to get caught. Mm-hmm. No, not on my watch. Mm-hmm. Hit me. Boom, I'm dead. I'm sorry. Yeah. Better me than him. I can't have this. I can't walk around with this guilt on any. Like, I would take that L. Boom. Who's left?
Donnie. Yeah.
So then he bends down. He picks up the sword and becomes the Ronin Ninja.
I dig it though. I dig it.
Ninja.
Like I said before today, and I've been preparing for this. Like I said,
find all our content on thenewfilmosophy.com.